Hello, hello, hello. It's me again, the snarky juror. I have been out of commission for a few days. I just now turned on the ring light, and it's a bit much. Okay, that's what do I want? That's better. My camera's already going in and out. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, it's actually the morning of the 9th because it's like 10 minutes after midnight. But I finally got myself in gear to address 3 days. I'm not going to be broadcasting the entire thing. I'm going to do snippets. And I'm going to include at the end where you can go and watch entire episodes if you want. Court TV being the number one place. That's where I get my stuff from. But there's a few things I want to address, little highlights that I saw. There's lots of other tidbits if you've been following along. But I just haven't had the energy. The grass in my yard is about this high now. Hopefully I'll be doing that this weekend. You turn the pages. Somebody turned the pages on my little notes here, and now I can't find it. There it is. Yeah, I need a lot of help. It's day 11. There's day 10. Okay. So the last I was here, I did day 9. So I'll do a brief overview of 10 and 11 and a little bit more in depth on 12. But we'll get to that in a minute. First thing that I want to do is something. Oh, I need to get ready to share screen. And share screen will be day. That's 12. We want day 10. Day 10. All right. Now then. Yes. This is the weatherman, Robert Gilman. And I will share a snippet and then we'll take it from there. So let me put myself in the corner. I'll get it going and then then we'll discuss what it is that I'm thinking and hearing and stuff. Let's make sure we've got quality, normal. Okay, closed captions. Okay. Okay. Now he's going to report, or he did report, this is a couple days ago, he did report on how much snow fell and when it fell and other facts and how they knew this was coming 3 or 4 days ahead of time and blah 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 blah. But there's a certain part of it that I want to point out, which gives me insight. So let me get it going.
as I said, 3 days prior. This was one of the last ones that was sent as the storm was getting underway in this area. So this was sent by my colleague, my partner, Bill Guile, at 8 o'clock that Friday evening. And it's a detail of when the snow is going to start, when the first inch will be on the ground, the total snowfall, the duration of the storm, and what's going to happen after the storm, which is also critical for our clients to know how to clean it up and what kind of post-storm conditions as far as temperature and other things to consider. So that's the heading of the form. Then we get into this detailed 6-hour time block series. And of course, that begins at 6 p.m. to midnight, since this was issued at 8 p.m. And we talk about the weather conditions and how much, if any, snowfall.
I don't mean to interject, but just you recognize what's on that, and that is a forecast that you sent out, correct?
Yes.
And that's Adam Lally, in case you've forgotten what he sounds like. That's the DA from last year, who occasionally gets to get up and examine some of the witnesses. Most of the time it's Brennan who's doing the questioning, but here it's Lally.
Well, our company sent out, my partner Bill Guile actually sent it.
And the last 2 sheets that you have before you, what are those?
These are images taken from one of those 3 sets I talked about, the second, the data set from NOAA, the National Operational Hydrologic Remote Sensing Center. And it's a image of snow depth, or snow on the ground, at 2 times on January 29th. The first time is 1 a.m. and the second time is 7 a.m. And it's a map of Greater Boston down to the South Shore into northwestern Rhode Island.
Can I go, John?
Yes.
I'm going to introduce in a minute the next 3 exhibits.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
And that's Alessi. He will be doing the cross. Or he did the cross. I don't think I need to go that far into this. But I can speed it up a little.
What is the difference between a forecast versus a report of actual conditions or weather measurables?
As defined, a forecast is your best estimate based on science and data available of how the future is going to play out in terms of weather, the amount of snowfall, the temperature, the observed data. And I often make the distinction between soup and sandwich. Weather and forecast always seem to go together, but there actually is weather, and that's separate from what the forecast is, and there's always some small distinction. Lately, we've been getting pretty good at getting accurate weather forecasting done, but it is the actual weather that's measured. How much snow is on the ground, how much snow fell, what the wind speed was during any given period, temperature, those kind of elements that actually occurred.
And Your Honor, with the court's permission, may I publish to the jury on the screen a copy of the forecasting document?
Okay.
Ms. Gilman, if you could. Thank you. And Mr. Gilman.
Okay, this is pretty self-explanatory, I think. Here we go. Need to move that. Let's put them up there. As you can see, this was 6 p.m. to midnight on the 28th, while everybody's boozing it up at the bar, okay? Coding, if any. And meteorologist Robert Gilman has a cute way of saying, has something to do, you know, enough to track a cat. In other words, they're dusting, and you can see where a cat has walked through, so you can track the cat. That's what this is, coding, if any. It wasn't until after midnight that it was ramping up. Midnight to 6 a.m., 3 to 4 inches that's when they were expecting most of the weather. Now, the reason that I'm pointing this out is because it was clear to me that if the accident had happened at, or whatever it was that happened to Mr. O'Keefe, I guess they can't say he's Officer O'Keefe anymore. Whatever happened to John O'Keefe? Supposedly it happened around 12. They're saying it's 12:31, 12:32. No, it's between 12:32 and 12:36, I think. They haven't really come right out, and of course they didn't the last time either. But that's what they're trying to insinuate so far. And if that were the case, with just a dusting of snow on the ground at that time, it would have been noticeable. If you didn't hear it, if you didn't see it, you would discover it within an hour as people start leaving. He wasn't buried in snow yet. It was increasing, but you would have been able to see that there was a body on the ground. And all those pieces of taillight would have been on the ground where he was. You wouldn't have found it in the snow. It would not have been visible on top of the snow or any layer underneath the snow. Either 3 inches, 2 inches, 1 inch would not be anywhere in there. It would have been down at ground trace level. And everything I've seen so far shows that they had to do some digging to get stuff out. So that's the one thing. Is that where I want to be? Yeah, that's where I want to be. Okay. On day 10, it started off with finishing Paul Gallagher's testimony. The cross was by Alan Jackson. He's the one that did the leaf blower and all that stuff, and tried to say there was a chain of custody, well, we did this and then we did that. And then, and it's like nowhere, anywhere is there a record of this went from point A to B to C to D to E to F to now. Nothing. There's no chain of custody. There's no log that stuff was entered into to give veracity to what they're saying. It was shoddy from square one. And everybody was bending over backwards to protect the owner of the property where John O'Keefe was found, who was known to be a hothead. Oh, we're not allowed to say that. We're not allowed to say that. Who knows a bit about boxing? Ooh, we're not allowed to say that either. No, we can't go there. Whose son was a hothead? Can't say him either. There's a lot of things you can't say in this, which tells me there's a lot of cover-up going on. And the clips that they're playing of different interviews of Karen Reed to different, either 2020 or a magazine or, whatever. They're like 6 seconds long. No lead in, no outro, no context. Pick and choose. Oh, this sounds bad. Oh, this sounds bad. But it doesn't. The only thing it has done for me, now granted, I'm not objective because I watched this from last year, but excuse me, I haven't seen any of the media that she's done. So I'm still objective, I guess, in that way. I was just checking, got myself distracted. But as far as I'm concerned, the clips do not look, they don't look bad to me. They don't cast Karen in such a bad light that the prosecution is trying to infer. I'm not getting that. I'm getting a welcome viewpoint of how she felt and what she was thinking and what she was going through. And it's like, oh, okay, so that makes sense. Oh, okay, I can see that. Oh, I can understand that. And it's not doing what the prosecution is trying to portray, at least not to me. And that might be because I already know a lot of the circumstances of what it is she's referring to. So after Paul Gallagher finished his testimony, they played another 1, 2, or 3 of those clips. And then Robert Gilman, the meteorologist, he came on board. He was quizzed by Adam Lally, and there was less than a quarter inch of snow on the ground at midnight. And it was shortly thereafter, within 30 minutes, that they say what happened. And it didn't. Not the way they're saying. And Mr. Lessie is the one who did the cross on that and did a good job. He's very courteous but intense, you know. So okay, that's all fine and good. Okay. So we're going to move on to, is this the next day? 10? Can't read my own notes. Nick Areno was recalled. In another case, he overlooked 32,000 texts. We're not supposed to say that. We're not supposed to know that. But he's the one that extracted texts from the phones. Let me go back and see. It was here. Nicholas Garino. So that's what I was trying to. And then Jen texted Karen while Karen was still in the hospital, under that psych thing. And she wanted to know Carrie's number. What? It was very important that she gets a hold of Carrie so they can start, comparing notes, getting on the same page. They played a voicemail that I think was hard to hear, but it sounded like she was telling Coco, her sister, don't come out. She made 2 phone calls. 603, 602. Right after she called 911, as she's heading over to so-called help with John O'Keefe, she made 2 phone calls, both to her sister. That's about all of my notes I can read. So it wouldn't hurt, especially if you're not familiar with the case, to go ahead and check that out. Now, who is this? This is Charles Ray. He's a lieutenant with the Canton Police. He did a wellness check. Nobody on the defense can figure out why he needed to do a wellness check. Everybody knew where the kids were, where the niece and nephew were. One had spent the night with a friend, and the other one, John's friend, was asked to go get. I don't know. I'm not sure what their names are, but to get the niece and bring her over to his place because she hung out with his daughter as well. So the kids were taken care of. So the thing of it is, am I here? Yes. Oh, well, thank you. They even said, yes, I'm here. I need to move this because here we go. They want to bring in this image where supposedly you can see the damage to Karen's car. The interesting thing is there's a video out by BN Trouble 31 where I think he did on this. Here and here has been blurred. This image has been doctored. And this group has been known to doctor things and invert things and misplace things and fiddle with things and slant things. You've got to be on your toes around these people. You've got to be on your toes. One of the things he said was, if you look at the outline of the snow, see here? It matches the outline of this taillight. But gee, this has been whited out. You see what I mean? See how you can see how the snow is built up? Because this car has some wicked taillights, let me tell you. I'm almost tempted, if I had the money to get me one. But you can see, here's the outline of a healthy taillight. And here's the outline of what should be a healthy taillight that's got the snow. The snow's been coming at it from this direction. So it's building up more on this side than it is on this side. Plus, there's a lot of drifting going on. But in the video, you'll see that these spots keep moving. They're not stationary to the vehicle. So it is something interesting. It's something very, oh shoot, you didn't see any of that. I'm such an idiot sometimes. Okay, where am I? Is that the one I want? No. Is that the one I want? No. Is that the one I want? Yes. Okay. There we are. All right. You remember all those things that I was saying? Do I remember? I don't. If you will notice, see this? This is where the snow was built up, which matches the outline of a healthy taillight. Here and here is blurred. This has been messed with because the snow here shows you that that taillight is still there. But they don't want you to know that. So they blurred the snow so you can't see it. Like I said, the prosecution and everybody involved trying to hide everything from everybody because we got to protect one of our own. You know, everybody else is an outsider, especially that girl. Pinning on the girl is said somewhere. I don't remember where. So then, where are we? So that was that. And who's this guy? Kevin O'Hara, lieutenant with the Massachusetts State Police, the CERT team. Yeah. Okay. They found the sneaker and 6 or 7 pieces of the taillight in a shoe. And they found it by starting in a line and moving forward with shovels. They turn it over. If there's something in there, then they'd say, hey. And somebody come running over, supposedly take a picture and put it in an evidence bag. Lieutenant Tully was there. And it was his cohort. And according to other people's descriptions of that was a CERT team, which is search and rescue, basically. They had no business being there. There was a unit that could have been called and wasn't. I'm sure there was a B in there somewhere, but who knows? So I think that finished out that day. Yes, that was day 10. So, sorry, I didn't mean to. That's better. Okay. So, then, let's see if I can do this. Then we go to day 11, which was Wednesday. If I can find it. Yes. Okay. Do you remember me mentioning about somebody would come running over and take a picture and put it in an evidence bag? Excuse me. As they were searching for things. That would be this gentleman. This is Trooper Connor Keefe. Yeah, Keefe. He collected evidence at the scene. He also is the one that took Jen McCabe and Carrie Roberts' phone. What was I doing? I don't know. That's what I was doing. Took that in. A digital forensic examiner. Brendan was doing the direct and Yannetti did the cross. Now, this character also attended the autopsy, but he couldn't say how many autopsies he'd been to. And most people, they have a rough idea how many autopsies, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, because it's not something you forget easily. So there's a big question mark on his veracity. Okay, there was some kind of sidebar going on it in my notes here, and I don't remember it. So, okay, am I still here? Hopefully. So he talks about,
Massachusetts.
Yes,
Do you know about what time you went there?
approximately 5:30.
What was your role? Trooper, do you recognize that item?
Yes,
What is it?
that is a black Nike shoe.
can you
Did
tell
you see that
from
item that
picture?
night?
Yes,
Oh, there's the photo.
74A, please.
It's upside down.
74B.
Look at all the snow.
Thank you.
There it
Is
is.
that the same
Now,
sneaker?
people,
yes, sir.
there's a lot of
After you were
controversy.
alerted to that sneaker, did you place that sneaker into an evidence bag?
Yes,
Did you bring that item with you today?
yes,
Do you have gloves?
Pay
Yes, sir.
close attention.
Do you want the lights on, Mr. Brennan?
Please, thank you, Your Honor. And Ms. Gilman, you can take the photo down, please. With the court's permission, I'm going to move this piece of evidence, item into evidence.
Trying to move it forward a little bit.
On it, what's that for?
Notice the
to
evidence
secure the bag closed.
If the bag is open, is it then retaped?
Yes,
Do you write on the outside of the bag?
yes,
Why do you do that?
to memorialize the date, time when the evidence was collected.
Could you open the bag and show us what's in it?
Yes, sir.
This takes a while, so I'm going to fast forward. And he shows the shoe, which appears to be the left shoe.
Trooper, is that the same item that you found that night?
Yes, sir.
If you could place it back in the bag,
Notice how nice and clean it looks.
I'd ask this to be marked as an exhibit.
All right, any objections, Dean? Any?
Somebody mentioned that in the previous trial, when they brought the shoe out, it was nasty looking. So I wonder what happened. Oh, that's right. The next lady is Jessica Hyde. She's a forensic cell phone person. And I got lost so many times in her testimony that I'm not even going to bother. I really didn't find anything stupendous in her testimony. So we'll just keep on going. Now comes interesting. That takes care of day 10 and 11. Now we're going into day 12. And I didn't see the beginning of this, so I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, but then I missed that part. No, we'll take it from here, because this is more interesting. I need to find it and bring it forward. Nope. Nope. Yep. Okay. So Are we on the same settings? Yes. We're on full. Okay. So on the stand now is Yuri Mechanic. Mechanic. I found out he's from,
Court is back in session. You may be seated.
gosh, now I can't remember.
Are you all set, Mr. Brennan?
I am, thank you, Your Honor. May I?
Yes.
Brennan is doing direct. Those who were here last year will recognize Yuri Buchanan. Yeah, something like that. He's a Massachusetts State Police officer. Brennan does the direct, and Jackson will be doing the cross. And I am going to do a lot of fast forwarding, but I'm starting here for a reason.
Sir, when we left, we were discussing Mr. O'Keefe's sneaker that you retrieved from the Good Samaritan Hospital.
Yes, sir.
Would that be his right sneaker?
It would be his right sneaker.
Do you have that sneaker with you today?
I do.
And again, could you open that bag and show that right sneaker to the jury?
Yes, sir.
Wait a minute. I got to make sure I'm on the right spot. Yeah, I wasn't.
Items with you today.
Yes, I did.
Beginning with the pants, do you have them with you up at the stand, Mr. O'Keefe's pants?
Yes.
This is interesting too.
Could you produce it, please?
Yes, sir.
Do you have gloves, Trooper Mechanic?
Yes, I do.
When he came in, he carried this big plastic tub that had a lot of stuff in it. Evidence bags. If you've watched any trials before, you know what an evidence bag looks like. Originally, they put the evidence in, they fold it over, they tape it up, they put initials and time and all kinds of information on the outside of it. Pay attention. This is supposedly from the hospital.
I'd move this item into evidence.
No objection.
With the court's permission, I'd ask the trooper to show the item to the jury.
Yes. Go right ahead.
Now pay attention to how he holds this so people don't see a lot of the really bad stains. But when he
Thank
flips this around, notice the grass stains. Get back, get back, get back.
Thank you.
Watch.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Keefe was very neat. You didn't wear your shoes in his house. Do you think he would leave the house in a pair of torn jeans with grass stains on the butt? This man was drugged somewhere. Dead weight. Bad choice of words. This man was drugged somewhere. And nobody has said anything about these. Nobody. He didn't get that from sitting on a bar stool. He didn't get that from sitting in the car. Do you think he would have gone out on a date? Matter of fact, there's pictures of him at both, oh, the names are escaping me, the Waterfall and McCarty's, the 2 bars that he went to. He doesn't have this on his butt there. This man was assaulted. Period. No 2 ways about it. And not by a car. Look at that. Now let's go to what I really wanted to go to. I'm not sure what this is. The shoe. Right shoe.
Trooper, is that the sneaker that was at the hospital when you visited Mr. O'Keefe?
Listen,
No, so this is the sneaker from 34 Fairview.
34 Fairview, which, what's his name? I just showed it to you. The little guy. Reese Keefe. Where'd it go? It was the day before. Kevin O'Hara. Yeah, Kevin O'Hara. It's the one that he just showed everybody and said it was from Fairview, the one that was found. Now he's saying that he took this out of the bag and it was marked Fairview and not the hospital. Watch everybody scramble.
Could I have that marked?
Look at her face.
What is that, a left or a right sneaker, sir?
This is the left sneaker. Excuse me, this is the right sneaker from 34 Fairview Road, Kansas.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you could put the speaker back in the bag and let Mr. Brennan bring the bag over, please.
And they didn't mention again afterwards. So what's the story here? Is it mismarked? That just supports the defense. Oh, that guy that just walked by, he's going off to get the other item from yesterday, so they can compare probably what's written on the outside. This just supports the whole theory that this was a crappy investigation. They didn't handle evidence well. The logging, the tracking, the reporting, all of it. Now listen to the excuse. If we're back.
Company of representative from the defense team.
I'll come right back out.
Your Honor, may I?
Yes.
be heard?
Yes.
May I, during the break, in the company of representative from the defense team, speak to Trooper Buchanan about this issue?
I have no problem with that. Do you, Mr. Jackson?
No problem.
I think that will facilitate things. Yes, you may.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, something's going to go on that we won't know anything about. I don't know. Does she say something to the jury when they come back in? She said something to them. Oh, this happens. Don't think twice about this. This happens. BS. Under any other circumstances, that could have been a mistrial right there. The whole case could have been thrown out, never to be seen again. And depending on a judge, not her, of course, it could have happened. It wasn't a short break. So she either says it when they come in again, the jury comes in again, or she said it when they were.
You are unmuted.
I might have to back up.
The jury's coming over, but did you want to give me those text messages or no?
You see the court is touching. Thank you.
I don't need to have them.
No, I had brought them downstairs. I thought you had them. I will.
Did that fall out?
Yeah. Now, if he opened that during the break, they must have, with witnesses, sealed it back up.
Thank you.
All rise to the court. Jurors entry.
Let's see if it's here, she says it. If it's not, then I'll have to back it up. Because I don't remember exactly what she said. That was a major faux pas. And there's people saying that those are two different sneakers. They're Nike, yeah. But one's a Torino and one's a something else. That does have a black sole. And it's not a thing of the way the light was hitting it. So I don't know.
Court is back in session. You may be seated.
Are you all set, Mr. Brennan?
I am, thank you, Your Honor. May I?
Yes.
Okay, it was when they suddenly left.
From 34 Fair.
Could I have that marked? What, is that a left or a right sneaker, sir?
This is the left sneaker. Excuse me, this is the right sneaker from 34 Ferry Road, Kansas.
Sure. If you could put the speaker back in the bag and let Mr. Brennan bring the bag over, please.
Okay, I got to see where she dismissed everybody. She was very cavalier about it. Come on.
Take a half an hour just to make sure that everybody.
Jurors will take on morning recess because
you don't need to watch us over there playing the game, so we'll take a half an hour just to make sure that everybody is ready and is able to move forward smoothly. These things happen when you have a lot of evidence in court. So we will see
These
you.
things happen when there's a lot of evidence.
All rise, please. Jurors, close your notebooks.
These
Slowly.
things happen. Yes. I can see where you downplay it for the jury. I understand that. Well, those are the things that I wanted to point out. Was the confusion with the shoes. And
Just let me know and I'll come right back out.
Your Honor, may I?
This would have been documenting each item that was located with photographs. Then one of the members of the individuals present would bag each item into a paper bag.
When they were bagged, would the person bagging them use any type of protection like you're using?
Absolutely, every time.
yeah,
Without going through every one of them, can you just pull out one red and one clear to show the jury a representative sample of what's in the bag?
I am going to fast forward to,
In total of the 6 items in that bag?
In total, there are 6 items in the bag.
because I can't handle, there's a lot of this I can't handle anymore. Oh, man.
Would be assigned to, but under ordinary circumstances, you earn your way.
$11.46, please.
Can't handle Brennan in too big of doses.
12.06, please.
These images are so bad. They weren't that bad last time. They weren't clear, but they
Okay.
weren't that bad.
Two-tone gray sweatshirt with a...
The
Yes, in his right hand, he's holding a short style cocktail glass outside.
Could we show 108C?
Right, holding in his right hand.
One last match home.
Yes, I did.
Did you provide that basically
If you want to
That's-
watch this,
is
fine. You
aperture
can.
panning in the evidence?
I watched it once. We'll finish with The Cross so far by Alan Jackson. There's a couple times there's a bit of sparring going on. It's like seeing 2 bull elks sizing each other up, checking each other out, taunting. I believe on some level, Yuri Buchanan, he respects Mr. Jackson. That's what I get, because he kind of enjoys the repertoire. What's the word I'm looking for? Repartee? Something like that. He enjoys, because he probably doesn't have a lot of people that he respects that he bounces off of. And so when you come across somebody who is what you think is your equal, he enjoys the experience. That's just what I think. Nobody has said that. Nobody has indicated that. But even though Jackson doesn't give 2 dimes for this guy, he treats everybody with respect. And I think it's returned. So
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Sergeant Buchnick.
Good afternoon, sir.
Nobody can say his name.
I want to talk to you for a second about roles in this case, in this investigation. Would you agree with me that Michael Proctor was the lead investigator as well as the case agent in charge of this case?
He was assigned as the case officer for the case.
In that position, given the fact that it was his assignment, would you agree with me that he had a leadership role insofar as the investigation of the case was concerned?
I wouldn't call it a leadership role. It's more of a facilitator, liaison between the DA's personnel within the office and the state police.
He does this over and over and over again. So you know he's hiding a lot of stuff. The only time that people do this is when they're hiding, when they can't say yes or no. They have to qualify. They have to dance around it. He does the same thing. Let me fast forward. Well, I don't know where's a good place to go. So we'll just let it play out.
He also helps facilitate any missions, outstanding tasks that need to be completed.
You obviously have a supervisor, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
He obviously had a supervisor, correct?
He did, yes, that would be myself.
That would be you.
Yes.
Every case has some lead trooper in your unit, correct? Every case is assigned to someone to sort of be in charge and lead the charge of the investigation. Is that right?
Every case has a case officer that manages the investigation.
Right. And managing the investigation doesn't mean just, sort of typing up schedules. It means actually managing the investigation, like deciding what search warrants are going to be written in certain circumstances. That's one example, correct?
They're responsible for writing and authoring those search warrants. Sometimes the recommendation, suggestion, or leadership comes from the supervisors or the DA staff, where their experience might dictate otherwise.
And sometimes it comes from the lead case agent himself or herself, correct?
At times, yes.
Finally.
Every team, even back when you were in the military, you were on many teams in the Marine Corps, correct?
I'm sorry, you were speaking, facing away from me. I couldn't hear you.
Every team, including back in the time you were in the military, back in the time you were in the Marine Corps, every team has multiple individuals involved in that team, correct? That's the whole point of a team, multiple people, correct?
I would agree with you that a team consists of more than one person. Yes.
And it has to be some sort of echelon of leadership on that team, correct? Everybody's not just an equal, co-equal, correct?
We might have different duties, responsibilities, but some teams have equal rank. Yeah.
But there's going to be a team leader, right? That's a military phrase, team leader.
He won't say it.
Yes, there is a team leader in the Marine Corps, in the rifle platoon, but not every team has a leader.
Did the team in this case, in this investigation, have a leader? Someone who was assigned as the lead case agent? Not just another officer, not just another detective, but the lead case agent.
The case officer for the investigation was Michael Proctor.
But you don't want to say lead case agent or case officer, correct?
I refer to that billet as case officer.
Your responsibility as the supervisor over this particular case officer or any other case officer that you might have, or any other trooper that you might have under your supervision, your responsibility in no small part is to supervise the individuals under your command to ensure that the case is adequately investigated. It's properly investigated. That's part of your role as a supervisor, correct?
That is one of my many responsibilities, yes.
It's partly because you have more experience, I'm guessing, than the people under your charge. Is that right?
No.
Certainly in my position, but there are many instances where a sergeant might have less experience than a well-seasoned trooper that's been in the office for 15 to 20 years. So
Fair enough. that may be the case, but under ordinary circumstances, you earn your way into a supervisory role in the Massachusetts State Police through both not just time, but time and experience, correct?
Take a test.
We take an exam and then get promoted based on the exam.
Part of the responsibility that you have as a supervisor is to make sure that the case is properly investigated, and that may include making sure you have the right suspects, right? The array of suspects that may exist, you want to make sure, and you supervise to make sure that that array of suspects is appropriate and proper, correct?
In every investigation, we follow the evidence. We follow the statements made, provided by eyewitnesses, witnesses in the case. Sometimes the defendants or the suspects provide statements to us. At many instances, those could be contradictory statements. We follow the evidence in every investigation, and that evidence determines who the suspect, person of interest, or ultimately the defendant is.
And you want to make sure that you gather, or that your subordinates gather, that evidence in an appropriate and objective way. It's obviously the foundation of a good investigation, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Maybe. You obviously, as a supervisor, want to make sure, you talked about following the evidence, you want to make sure that that evidence is gathered in a way that is adequate, in a way that is objective, that in a way that is unbiased, so that you can gather the evidence that will lead you to the right folks, right? The right suspects.
We always want to gather as much evidence as possible. We conduct that gathering in the most appropriate ways possible. Sometimes there are tough decisions that have to be made where we have to either decide whether we're collecting evidence A or evidence B, and those decisions have to be made on the spot. At times it's a time-sensitive matter. At times it's a decision made by a group putting their heads together and deciding on that. So
He talks a good game. And maybe 80% of the cases, they do that. But if they've made a decision to railroad somebody, doesn't matter. They decided within 2 hours, very quickly, a finger was being pointed, and they stopped looking anyplace else.
oh, I don't know if that answers your question, but
Not really.
That's the most
Let's try it again.
accurate explanation.
Okay, you done?
I am.
Okay, let's try that again. You want to make sure that the evidence, as a supervisor, supervising your subordinates, you want to make sure that the evidence is gathered in an appropriate way, in an objective way, correct? Yes.
See what I mean about the repartee, the exchange between the two? You know, he actually smiled. Jackson he makes quips. He might envy the fact that Jackson is upstanding and he's kind of lost his way a little.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. You're also doing everything you can as a supervisor and someone with the experience to make sure that the highest levels of integrity and those demands are met in any investigation that you work on.
If there was a question of integrity, those individuals would not be part of an investigation.
That includes knowing, obviously, what your subordinates are doing.
During the conduct of the investigation, during the process of us investigating a crime, yes, we know what is going on, because every bit of information that comes in needs to be shared, and we need to make sure the whole team is aware of all the evidence and information that is available to us at the time.
You want to make sure that, I'm going to use a colloquial phrase, you keep tabs on those who are reporting to you, correct? What are they doing? What are they engaged in? When are they coming and going? Who are they interviewing? Things of that nature. Basic investigative things, correct?
For the most part, you can't track every single person all the time, but this is a very serious line of work. A lot depends on it. We speak for those that can no longer speak for themselves. So we do our best to conduct every investigation with integrity, honor, and get to the truth.
if you don't properly supervise, and I'm talking about your role now as a supervisor, if you don't properly engage in that supervision, it obviously increases chances for mistakes. It increases chances for bias to seep in. It increases chances that something could affect the adequacy of the investigation, correct?
That's a lot there. Can you repeat that, please? Maybe one section at a time?
Sure. If you don't properly supervise your subordinates in an investigation, failing to properly supervise them could increase the chances that mistakes are made. Isn't that right? That's why you
Yes,
supervise them.
that is one possibility. Yes.
Okay, let's break it down. It also increases chances that there could be inherent biases that are seeping into the case that you want to make sure doesn't happen, correct?
I believe that human beings all have biases, but during the investigation, those biases do not affect, especially in this case, they did not affect any outcome of the investigation.
So I wasn't even talking about this case. I was talking about cases in general and your supervisory role in general. Your job as a supervisor is to seek out and make sure that there are no biases in an investigation, correct?
Absolutely.
You want to make sure that any investigation, as a supervisor, any investigation that is under your charge, under your supervision, is done adequately and professionally. Is that right?
Yes, that is right.
And there is a chain of command for that, right? Meaning someone under your charge needs to report up the chain of command to you, and you have supervisors to whom you report, correct?
Yes, it's a paramilitary structure, and it is in order for the colonel to keep command and control over the entire agency of 2,000 plus people, it is absolutely necessary for there be a reporting up and down within the ranks of the Massachusetts State Police.
And you have, by the way, what's your chain of command? Who did you report to back in 2022?
I directly reported to Detective Lieutenant Tully.
That's another name you'll get used to.
Especially you mentioned this case a second ago, especially in a case like this, a homicide investigation, especially in a homicide investigation involving a police officer, you have to maintain your knowledge, an intimate knowledge of those under your command, under your charge, to ensure that what they're doing fits what you believe to be the proper protocol. In other words, you're not just going to let people loose. You're going to watch what they're doing and actually supervise them, correct?
Yes, absolutely. We are professionals, and we conduct each and every investigation with that in mind and with the integrity that is necessary.
You just used the word I was about to use. That ensures the adequacy of the investigation, correct?
Yes.
To use your word, that ensures the integrity of the investigation. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
As you sit here today, do you believe that this investigation, now I'm going to turn to this investigation, was conducted with professionalism, with competence, at the highest level of integrity?
This investigation was conducted professionally, with integrity, and all the evidence collected, all the statements collected pointed in one direction. There was no bias influence on the evidence, on the information that was collected, or which direction the investigation pointed naturally.
Former Trooper Michael Proctor was the person who was the assigned case agent, the lead case agent in this particular investigation, correct?
Michael Proctor was the case officer for this investigation.
He was assigned, ultimately, to use another phrase, as the lead investigator, wasn't he?
I'm not going to agree with you.
Is there a reason that you want to try to distance yourself from naming Michael Proctor as the lead investigator in the case? Is there some reason?
I am not trying to distance myself. All I'm saying is the term that I use is the case officer. We're simply case managers. There's no leading investigation in any direction.
So in your mind, well, let me ask you this. It's a case officer, another word for that. Synonym would be an investigator, right? He's a detective, an investigator, correct?
He is a detective, yes.
And he was the one who was assigned by the Massachusetts State Police because of his on-call status that night, or that morning, January 29, 2022. he was assigned to the case, correct?
Michael,
Yes or no? Assigned to the case. That's all I'm asking.
well, you said a lot before that,
No,
so
I didn't. I said he was assigned to the case on what I said before that was January 29th, 2022. He was assigned by the Massachusetts State Police
But he wasn't.
as the case officer for this case. Correct?
no.
Who was?
He was assigned to be on call a month prior. Just because he was on call, he was assigned the case as a result. He was not assigned the case right there and then, because his assignment began much earlier in the day.
Sergeant, we can do this all day, I suppose. He was on call.
He
on
was.
January 29th, correct?
He was.
Because he was on call, any case that happened to come in would be assigned to whom?
To the on-call trooper that's on the schedule.
Which was whom?
It was Michael Proctor.
Got to use the right terminology with this guy.
Let me just ask you this. Do you believe that Michael Proctor, his involvement in this case, taints the investigation? Tainted the investigation?
No.
Not at all.
The investigation was done with honor, integrity, and all the evidence pointed in one direction only.
Honor and integrity by Michael Proctor?
Was that a question? I'm sorry.
Sure is. Everything I say is a question. Honor and integrity by Michael Proctor, Sergeant? Okay.
Sustain to the comment. Go ahead and ask it again, Mr.
I'll ask you again. You said honor and integrity. Honor and integrity by Michael Proctor? Objection.
I'll allow it.
The investigation was conducted with honor and integrity, and all the evidence pointed in one direction and one direction only.
So, Sergeant Buchanan, you don't want to answer my question. Correct?
I will answer your question, absolutely.
Do you think this case was handled with honor and integrity by Michael Proctor, Sergeant?
The investigation was handled with integrity by Michael Proctor.
You do know that he touched or had input in nearly every part of this case, obviously.
What he's drilling home, if you haven't been paying attention up to this point, is Michael Proctor is no longer a trooper because of the way he handled this case. And Mr. Buchanan himself was reprimanded because of the things he allowed to happen. But he's not willing to say that it tainted the investigation, because I think more dominoes would fall if he did. So it's one of the reasons why he's sidestepping, in my opinion.
So he is the case officer, correct?
He managed the case.
So he had some input or had some connection to nearly every part of the case, be it the physical evidence, the search warrants, the interviews, things of that nature.
He was one of the involved with collecting evidence, conducting interviews, and signing affidavits for the search warrants.
He didn't take a minor role in this case. He had a major role in this case. Would you at least agree with that?
He had a role that was more significant than others. A major role would, to me, suggest that he had 51% or more. And with a team of the size that we had working on this case, he did not have a major role.
So you believe, as you sit here today, your testimony is Michael Proctor did not have a major role in this investigation of Commonwealth versus Karen Reed.
He's quibbling.
Because he didn't have 51% of something? That's your testimony?
That's the way I understand it, yes.
Okay. You're aware of the search warrants that were drafted, affidavits that were attendant to those search warrants in this case, correct?
Am I aware of affidavits drafted
Search warrants and
support-
affidavits.
in support of the search warrants?
Correct.
Yes, I am.
You're also aware that there was a good amount of physical evidence that was handled in this case? Recovered, touched, booked, assigned or booked into the lab, things of that nature?
I am aware of the evidence involved in this case, yes.
He's getting a little pissed now.
May I approach the witness? Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay. What Jackson just put in front of Buchanan is a folder that has about 12 tabs on it. And it cites different things, search warrants, affidavits, this, that, the other. And they've all got Proctor's name on it. And some of them were not signed. Like a search warrant was not signed. Does that make it illegal now? Just asking. I don't know these things. But this brings forward all the stuff that's got Trooper Proctor's fingers all over it. And Buchanan is still trying to defend him. And I'm going to fast forward through all of that. Not sure if that is the end of it or not. We'll see.
Could not be authenticated. I don't know what these documents were. I didn't read them. So I can't tell you that he was the author. Like what you presented, I can't speak to.
You just made my point. Even as the supervisor, you don't know everything that Michael Proctor was doing, do you?
No, it's impossible to know everything somebody was doing.
Got it. Especially the case officer on this case, as busy as he was, right?
I'm sorry?
Especially the case officer on this case, as busy as he was, Michael Proctor, right?
He was keeping us and his supervisors abreast of what was happening, the next step, the search warrants he was writing, the evidence that was being collected, the interviews that are being conducted, court dates and motions and stuff like that.
So he would do the work and then keep you, the word you just used, keep you abreast of that one.
Right, unless I was involved with the investigation myself. We did a ton of interviews together as I authored some of these reports as well. I said there was 100+ reports.
Sir, you were notified on January 29th, 2022, that a Boston police officer was found gravely injured in front of 34 Fairview in the lawn, in the yard, correct?
No, that is not correct.
What were you notified of?
When the notification came in, it was that there was a male party found in the snowbank.
At some point, you learned that male party was John O'Keefe, a police officer, correct?
At some point, we did learn that he was a Boston police officer.
Matter of fact, you learned that morning. May not have been the first notification, but certainly early that morning, you knew that John O'Keefe was a Boston police officer.
At some point, we learned. I don't remember exactly when, if it was morning, just after 12. I don't know when, but we did learn that he was a Boston police officer.
And I'm not asking about what Proctor learned, but what you learned. You learned that he was a Boston police officer, correct?
At some point, I learned that he was a Boston police officer, yes.
And on January 29th, did you ever respond to 34 Fairview Road at any time?
On January 29th, 2022, at no point in time did I or Michael Proctor, who was with me the whole time, ever respond to 34 Fairview Road.
So the answer to my question, very simply, is no, right?
That's correct.
You just answered this question as well, but I want to make sure we're absolutely clear. Your Honor, may I approach? I don't want that binder to be in Mrs. way. At no point on January 29th, 2022, did Michael Proctor respond to 34 Fairview either, did he?
No, he did not.
You already indicated and you described in some detail that Massachusetts State Police took over the investigation from Canton Police Department around 8 or 9 a.m., correct? Following certain protocols.
Yes, at some point in the morning, once it was determined that Mr. O'Keefe was gravely injured and was being transported to the hospital with no signs of life, and we were advised that he had a estimated 10% of survival rate.
That's the first time I've heard that he had a 10% survival rate. First time I've heard of that.
Engaged our services and responded to Canton Police to begin the investigation.
So the answer to that question is yes, correct?
Yes.
He almost hated to say that.
You'll often work with a local police agency, even though police department, even though Massachusetts State Police may have statutory jurisdiction over the case because it's a homicide, right?
Yes, part of our mission is to aid and assist local police departments when they request it. In this specific situation, as I stated earlier, the DA's office has exclusive jurisdiction over death investigations, and our office has that responsibility of investigating those cases. But we work very well with local departments.
So the answer to that question is yes, correct?
Yes.
If you can answer my question yes or no, this will go a lot faster. In this case, even though you oftentimes work with local law enforcement agencies, it was determined that you would not continue working with Canton PD because of a conflict or the perception of a potential conflict of interest, correct?
To alleviate any perception, not that one existed, the Canton Police Department recused themselves from being involved in the interview portion of the investigation.
And that's in no small part because
He's part of the good old
the
boys.
lawn on which Mr. O'Keefe was found belongs to to Brian Albert, and Kevin Albert, Brian Albert's brother, worked as a detective at Canton Police Department, correct?
That was my understanding why they chose to take those steps.
Your first documented action in this case was to call the medical examiner's office. First documented action, not the first thing you did, but the first thing that you documented that you did was to call the medical examiner's office at about 10:41 a.m., correct?
In what respect are you saying first documented action?
There's a report where we can look at the earliest thing that you did, and it's actually written down and documented. You know what I mean by documented? Written on a piece of paper.
In that respect of documentation, I would have to look into it. I believe there was something probably before that, since there was a documentation of us getting notified of the incident.
At 10:41, let me just ask it a little bit more straightforward if I can. Just get to the point. At 10:41 a.m., you called the medical examiner's office to inform them that Mr. O'Keefe, quote, was struck in the face with a cocktail glass, or at least appeared to be, correct?
That is in part what I advised the medical examiner's office, where they are responsible for the medical portion of.
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach briefly?
Okay.
Yeah. He's trying to talk wrong thing. He's speaking directly to the jury now.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Did you contact the medical examiner's office in the morning of January 29th, 2022?
Yes.
And did you state to them that there was a possibility that the decedent, John O'Keefe, was struck in the face with a cocktail glass?
I don't recall my words exactly, but that sounds accurate to what I might have said.
Greasy
At least your
pig.
initial investigation during those early morning hours, those critical hours, led you to believe at least that there was a possibility that there was a physical altercation, correct?
Doesn't want to
Yes.
be pinned.
What steps did you take
Doesn't
at that
want to be
moment
pinned.
to
Doesn't want to
determine
be.
whether or not anybody in the house
Hold on, I'm going to
may
back
have
up.
been involved in that physical altercation that you thought was what steps did you take
He doesn't want
that
to
there
be
was a
pinned.
possibility that there was a physical altercation, correct?
Yes.
What steps did you take at that moment to determine whether or not anybody in the house may have been involved in that physical altercation that you thought was a possibility?
That's a compound question. I have to answer it separately.
Answer it however you want to. It's an open-ended question, which is unlike me. What steps did you take to, at that moment, to determine whether or not anybody in the house could have been involved in that possible physical altercation that you just described?
We interviewed the homeowner and 2 witnesses that were in that house.
You never went into the house, did you? On January 29th, at least.
I personally did not go in the house.
You did not secure that house or remove the occupants, did you?
Which day?
January.
He's getting a little irked. Did you see him do the? Don't you interrupt me when I'm trying my spiel. At least that's how it hit me. Now, there's no question he's a bum. Okay? So I'm not taking his side. But at least I'm not screaming right now, which I had been earlier.
I personally did not go in the house.
You did not secure that house or remove the occupants, did you?
Which day?
January 29th. I'm talking about the morning of January 29th.
I did not know.
You did not secure the yard as a crime scene, correct?
That's correct.
You didn't conduct any search of that house.
No, I did not.
You didn't take any photographs of the interior of that house.
I did not.
You didn't ask a forensic criminalist to join you and process the house, correct?
That is correct.
You didn't set up a crime scene log to determine who is coming in and going out of the potential crime scene.
I did not.
No one actually documented the crime scene by taking contextual photographs and then close-up photographs, etc., during those early morning hours, correct?
I cannot speak to that. I was not there.
So the answer is you didn't do that, and you didn't cause that to be done.
I did not do that.
Crime scene services section, what is that?
It's a unit, specialized unit on the state police. They are specially trained with documentation, photographs, video, latent fingerprints, foot and tire impressions, footwear and tire impressions. They assist other investigators in documenting and processing scenes.
Did you contact CSSS to process the house or the yard or the area adjacent to the yard?
Which house, sir?
34 Fairview, Sergeant Buchanan. Do you think I was talking about a different house?
Yes, I did.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Let's stick with 34 Fairview, where John O'Keefe's body was found. Did you call CSSS out to the scene to process that house?
I did not contact crime scene services on January 29th to the area of 34 Fairview Road to the lawn where John O'Keefe's body was found.
You mentioned that you conducted interviews that day, correct?
That's correct.
Where were those interviews conducted?
The first interview was conducted at Canton Police Department. The second, third, and fourth were conducted at a residence in Canton. The
What was the
fifth,
I'm sorry, what was the first interview at Canton Police Department that morning?
Sergeant Good.
So other than Sergeant Good, I'm talking about civilian witnesses. You mentioned 3 civilian witnesses. Where were those 3 witnesses interviewed?
At a residence in Canton.
But not at 34 Fairview, just to be clear.
They were not at 34 Fairview, no.
They had been at 34 Fairview, though, hadn't they? All 3 of them.
Yes, they had.
As a matter of fact, Michael Proctor spoke to one, at least one of them, while she was at 34 Fairview, correct?
I don't know.
Weren't you with Michael Proctor when he spoke to Jennifer McCabe?
Which time, sir?
The first time he called her to set up the interview that morning on January 29th.
I don't know where Jennifer McCabe was. I can't testify to that. I have no idea.
So if that call was made, she talked about that call being made, that was made by Michael Proctor, not by outside of your presence.
Can you repeat that?
Sure. If there was a call made to Jennifer McCabe by Michael Proctor that morning, that was outside your presence.
Not necessarily. I just did not know where she was.
So the only 3 people you interviewed were Jennifer McCabe, Matt McCabe, and Brian Albert, correct?
Not correct.
Who else?
The defendant.
Other than Miss Reed, and before you got to Miss Reed, because you didn't get to Miss Reed till 3:34, correct? In the afternoon.
In the afternoon. I don't know exactly what time we began the conversation.
Right. I'm talking about in the morning when you were trying to figure out what was going on. You interviewed 3 people.
Yes, we did.
3 civilians.
At one point, we interviewed 3 civilians, the homeowner at 34 Fairview Road, and 2 witnesses that were with Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant the night prior, and then one of the witnesses that was with the defendant when Mr. O'Keefe was discovered.
And these are individuals that you made the assessment had either been with or shortly been with at the time or shortly before he was last seen alive, right?
Based on the information that we had at that time, one of the individuals was with him right before he was seen alive, and the other 2.
Right before he was last seen alive.
One of the individuals was with him right before he was last seen alive, and 2 of the individuals saw the defendant and Mr. O'Keefe together.
And those same 2 individuals were also with Mr. O'Keefe just minutes before he was last seen alive. The waterfall, correct?
All 3 of the individuals were with Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant at Waterfall, yes.
And all 3 of the individuals were also at 34 Fairview when Mr. O'Keefe arrived. You had that information, didn't you?
We did not have information of Mr. O'Keefe arriving at the house. He was dropped off on the lawn.
And all 3 people, all 3 were either named McCabe or Albert. Those are the 3 people that you had information from, correct?
Which information? We had information for a lot of different sources at that point in time.
I'm talking about the first 3 interviews that you did, the first 3 civilian interviews you did that morning. Still on the same thing. You mentioned talking to 3 people at a residence in Canton. Brian Albert, Jim McCabe, Matt McCabe. All 3 were at 34 Fairview when they indicated John O'Keefe arrived in an SUV. They all told you that, right?
They were inside the home when the defendant and Mr. O'Keefe arrived in the SUV.
These are the very people that would have a motive to lie if they were somehow involved, right?
Can you answer that, Sergeant?
No, Your Honor.
You're a professional investigator, correct?
That's correct.
Homicide investigator, right?
That's correct.
Many years of experience, right? Is that yes?
I don't know what many means to you,
No,
but
of course not. Let me, how many years of experience do you have?
in homicide,
Correct.
10 next week.
Okay. Does that sound like many?
I didn't answer the first time because I don't know what you would think many is.
Right. Suspects ever lied to you?
Yes.
Suspects lie to you all the time, don't they?
All the time is not accurate. They lie about certain things to create an alibi for themselves and state contradicting facts or fabricated stories.
And if someone
all the
has
time would mean that they're constantly lying about everything.
do you understand the colloquialism all the time?
I
Suspects.
do not know the term colloquialism.
Okay, let's try it a different way. If these three individuals were involved in the death of John O'Keefe or knew others who were involved in the death of John O'Keefe, who they were close to, they would have a motive to lie about that, correct?
Objection.
I don't understand the law.
But you took these three individuals just at their word based on those first three interviews, correct?
No, not correct.
You didn't go in the house. You didn't search the house. We've already talked about that, right?
I did not go into 34 Fairview. No, I did not.
You didn't ask them to come with you down to the station, correct?
That's correct. I did not ask them to come to the station.
As a matter of fact, when you went to interview Jennifer McCabe at her home, Brian Albert happened to be there, correct?
He was there, and I was able to conduct the interview at the house with Brian Albert, yes.
Did you find that odd?
Absolutely not.
Totally normal for you to conduct a formal interview in a homicide case and have an extra person show up at the house just to be there?
Absolutely. Cooperating witnesses always try and be assisting. So cooperating witnesses would assist us.
You just use the word always. You don't know what all the time means. But they always try to be assistant.
Well, they're cooperating. It's in the nature.
They always try to help you out.
Okay, maybe I misspoke. They are cooperating witnesses. So always is such a finite, definitive statement. I apologize for using it.
And if an investigator were keeping an open mind, right, open to all possibilities at the beginning of the investigation, someone that you now are calling a cooperating witness might well be a suspect who's lying, correct?
Yes.
That's
there's
a possibility.
That is a possibility, yes.
Poor Jackson, you hear that sigh? Pulling teeth.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
He's having too much fun. Yuri, that is.
Can ask you about
Yep.
some of the. I want to shift gears for a second, Sergeant Buchanan, and ask you about some of the physical evidence in the case. You and Mr. Proctor collected the gray sweatshirt and the orange T-shirt that we saw entered into evidence today, correct?
That's correct.
You talked about finding that evidence at Good Samaritan Hospital, is that right?
That is where it was seized from, yes.
You described it as being on the floor, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Where on the floor?
Warning. They're going to show a picture in a minute. And it's not what the picture is focusing on, but you will, as they pull back, you will see John O'Keefe's legs and feet in socks that have never been found that could have dog hair on them if he took his shoes off when he went inside the house. But the socks have never been found. Anyway, and they would have been full of blood too. I forget what I was saying. Just went out of my head.
Or was it when you first saw it? So on the
Now I remember. He's talking about the clothes, because he's now going to get into how they were taken and processed and stored. Okay. One of the pictures they're going to show, you will see John O'Keefe's legs and feet as he's on the gurney in the emergency room or wherever it was they took him, as they zoom in on the clothes that have been discarded on the floor. So I just want to warn anybody who's kind of sensitive to that.
on the hospital floor, not the ambulance floor, correct?
When I first saw it, it was on the hospital floor, correct?
All right. Madam Coach.
Yes.
Take a look at that photograph, please.
Yes.
Do you recognize that, sir?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize it?
It's one of the photographs taken from Mr. O'Keefe's emergency department room.
Do you recognize the shirt or shirts that you earlier described as being in that photograph?
There is an orange shirt depicted on the floor to the left side, yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask that be marked and entered into evidence.
No objection.
Okay.
While that's being marked, let me we approach very briefly.
That wasn't.
Your Honor, with permission, may I publish?
Yes.
Sergeant Buchanan, this is Exhibit 110. You just mentioned seeing an orange shirt. Do you have a laser pointer with you? If you don't, I can grab you one.
I do.
Can you point for the jurors where you were describing the orange? Just pick whichever TV you want to use.
Doesn't work. That one don't work.
May I approach?
Yes. It worked earlier.
This is
It did, yes.
that's at least. That should work. Just tell me which TV you're going to look at so the jurors understand and can follow.
I'll do the one to my right so the jurors can see. There is something orange right there on the floor.
Does that appear to be on top of something darker?
It does appear to be on top of possibly a darker item of clothing, possibly the jeans. I'm not sure exactly from here
Okay.
what that is.
Do you believe, as you sit here, and I'm asking it open because I don't know what the answer is. Do you believe, as you sit here, that that's the orange shirt and or the gray sweatshirt and or the jeans?
If we can zoom in, I could probably pick out the pattern So from here, it looks like it's a cut fabric, indicating that it most likely is the orange shirt. The jeans, you can see the belt loop through the jeans on the left side. I would say that that is Mr. O'Keefe's clothing that we picked up and bagged.
Okay, if you could unzoom that for me. One more question. You see Mr. O'Keefe's left leg and right leg from about the little lower than mid-thigh down, correct?
Mid-thigh down, I see his legs, yes.
Okay, you see his right knee?
The interior portion of it, yes.
Okay, do you see any scrapes or marks or cuts or abrasions on that right knee?
Not from this point, no.
Thank you, we can take that down. May I approach?
Yes.
But the coroner mentioned it, didn't he? She,
Oh, the laser point? Which one? I think it's this one. They're both the same.
we could go back up. No, I don't want to go back up.
I have one more question on that photo. Sorry about that. Can we display the photo one more time, Ms. Johnson? We don't need to turn the lights off. Take a look to the left. Could you zoom in on the chair? Do you see that item sitting on the chair, Sergeant?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
That is either mine or Michael Proctor's notepad binder.
Thank you. We can take that down. Concerning the two shirts that you earlier testified to as being sopping wet, did you bag those shirts? Well, did you bag those shirts or did Michael Proctor bag those shirts?
We bagged them together. If my memory is not failing me, I believe he picked it up and I held the bag open. But I could be wrong. Maybe I picked it up and he held the bag open.
That's fine. The two of you together got them in a bag.
Yes.
Was it a paper bag or a plastic bag?
It was a large paper bag, the size of like a lawn leaf bag you would get for disposing your yard waste.
Okay. Is it specifically an evidence bag or was it something that y'all came up with on the spot?
It's a bag that was provided by Crime Scene Services.
Okay. So it's an official law enforcement type bag. What a grocery bag.
It was not a grocery bag. It was a large bag.
Okay. Understood. Did both shirts go in the same bag?
All the clothing items that were in the pile went into the same bag.
Does that include the jeans and belt and boxer shorts?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. You went from Good Samaritan, straight to Dighton, correct?
Yes.
And you are the one that put the bag in your the super cab of your pickup truck?
Yes.
And then from Dighton, you went over to Canton PD, is that right?
Yes, we did.
And then from Canton PD, ultimately, before the night was out, you ended up back at the Norfolk DA's office, which is where you and Michael Proctor officed at the time, correct?
Yes.
When exactly, if you recall, did you lay out the clothing? You indicated it was sopping wet. You laid it out on a butcher paper. When was that?
It was during the evening hours. Once we arrived to the Canton office.
It was about 10 p.m., I'm guessing?
No, it was before that.
It was before 10?
Yes.
You have just a moment.
Yes.
Here comes another clarification. Last year, you said. He's getting tired. You can only spar for so long without getting tired or tarred.
Sergeant, I just want to get the record as clear as possible. Did you testify at a hearing last year, at a proceeding last year here in this courtroom, that it was about 10 o'clock at night when you finally got the clothing laid out on the butcher paper?
Based on the context on the question, I might have estimated to be
Okay.
around 10. I would have to take a look at the exact language being used. And
That's fair. I'm not trying to hold you to anything. I just want to make sure we get it as clear as possible. Mayor Coach?
Yes.
Highlighted portion, sir. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Sergeant, does that refresh your recollections to about the time that you ended up at the office to lay out those items on the butcher paper?
that refreshes my memory to my testimony prior.
And that was about your prior testimony. It was about 10 p.m.
When asked about what time the items were laid out, I indicated previously it was 10 o'clock approximately.
You didn't stay there all night with those clothes?
No, I did not.
I actually understand what he's saying. 10 o'clock wasn't when he returned. 10 o'clock was when they were laying out the items. So that's why he didn't. That's the distinction. Not defending this guy, just understanding how he thinks.
You left the clothes with Michael Proctor, did you not?
I can't testify to leaving them, quote unquote, with Michael Proctor. We laid them out together in the drying area on the butcher paper. And then at some point, I secured from the office. I don't have a memory if he left with me or if he remained to do additional tasks in the office to,
You indicated that those clothes stayed in that room starting on January 29th, 2022, so that they could dry, correct?
That's correct, sir.
Ultimately, they were bagged after they were dried, correct?
At some point they were, yes.
Who had access to that room where they were laid out on butcher paper in those intervening, those subsequent days?
Anyone that had access to the office with a proper key card authorization would have access to that area.
Of course, that includes you as a supervisor, correct?
It does.
It also includes Michael Proctor.
It does.
And those items were bagged on February 4th. Is that right?
I don't have a specific memory, but if you can show me a document suggesting that or supporting that statement, I will definitely look at it.
Sounds a lot like Jen McCabe.
If you've got some paper, can I look at the paper?
Okay.
Sergeant, while we're looking for this piece of paper, you remember looking at the bag that the clothing items were in at this point, just the jeans?
Earlier today, sir?
Yes.
I do remember looking at the bag, yes.
Okay, and the bag has a label on it, obviously, that's generated when items are bagged?
It has multiple labels, yes.
Okay. Did you see the label today that it indicated it was bagged on February 4th?
I didn't pay attention to it, no.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Yeah, the only reason he looked at the other bag was he was asked.
If you could take a look at those 3 pages briefly, that's a colloquy that may refresh your recollection.
I don't know what the colloquy means. Can you?
Colloquy, the back and forth conversation.
I see.
earlier he stated he was born in the Ukraine, I think. No, he was 9 when his parents came over here, and they all became citizens. And then he joined the Marine Corps when he was old enough. I could fast forward, but by the time I do that, I'll skip right over the next time he speaks, or somebody speaks. It'll be any second now, or maybe not. Watch. I'm on the wrong screen.
Can I approach?
Yes.
Sir. Did reviewing that document refresh your recollection as to the date that those items were ultimately bagged and labeled?
Yes, based on the tag on the bag, when I previously looked at it, it appears that the tag was printed on 2/4/22.
And that would be consistent with the time that the items are actually placed in the bag?
I don't know that to be true.
Because you didn't place them in the bag, Trooper Proctor did, correct? I'm sorry, former Trooper Proctor did.
I don't know who placed them in the bag.
But it wasn't you.
It was not me, no.
But the case officer, Mr. Proctor, had access to that room and was taking control over those clothing items for those 6 days that they were drying on the butcher paper, correct?
That's not necessarily correct. It could have been the evidence officers bagging the evidence once it's dried and processing it. I highly doubt Trooper Proctor had access to the beast machine to print that label.
Right. I'm not asking if he printed the label. I'm asking if he bagged the item and walked it up to the evidence locker and the label was printed up there.
Again, I don't know who bagged the items.
That would be normal protocol, though, correct?
Somebody else bagging the items?
No, the case officer bagging the items. He's the one that seized it along with you. He laid them out on the butcher paper along with you. He would be the one to gather them up. I mean, the evidence officer's not going to come down there and do that without the case officer knowing, correct?
Not necessarily. The evidence officer's responsibility is to handle the evidence. So I don't know who handled the evidence that day.
How would the evidence officer know to go down there? How would he know that there were clothing items being laid out to dry on butcher paper unless the case officer told him?
They would walk by it every day and see it. That's their workstation. So
Right.
they would know that, hey, this evidence is drying. There's only 4 detectives in the office at that time working on this case. We communicate daily. So they would know that, hey, it's dried. Let's bag it up.
Well, that's a lot of speculation, especially from the supervisor, literally, who just said, I have no idea who bagged it up. They weren't communicating with you, were they?
I was giving you an explanation of what could have happened.
Right. Speculation about what could have happened, right?
Well, I certainly did not bag that item.
Right. But your best estimate would be, knowing the protocols at the MSP and in your unit, would be the case officer who's controlling the items of evidence would have bagged it and submitted into the evidence locker.
I do not know who bagged it.
You ain't gonna win, Jackson. Not on that one.
So for 6 days, anybody who had access to that room could have handled that clothing in any way they wanted to.
That's correct.
And that includes former Trooper Michael Proctor.
That's correct.
Do you have any kind of log
No.
to document what was happening or who was handling those items of clothing during that 6-day period before it was bagged into evidence? Any kind of a log?
I don't have a document logging the clothing laying out there. It was documented in reports and processing, I believe.
Have
But
you ever seen a log? I'm not talking about a report after the fact. I'm talking about a log, real-time log, indicating who may have come in and handled or touched or manipulated those clothes in that 6-day span of time before that.
It doesn't exist in Massachusetts.
I have never seen a log like that, no.
The fact is, we don't have a single document establishing the chain of custody for those items
Nope.
between January 29th and February 4th. That's correct, isn't it?
That is absolutely not correct.
Where's the log of the document logging what happened to it?
We seized the clothing. It was in our possession. It was transferred for processing.
Sergeant, I'm asking you about a log, a written piece of paper, something that looks like this. It's got writing on it that logs the item between January 29th and February 4th. That doesn't exist, does it?
We did not create a log to document the documentation,
Thank
so it'd be redundant, really.
You indicated on direct examination that you personally participated in 2 searches at 34 Fairview, one on February 4th, one on February 10th. Is that right?
That is not right.
What did I get wrong?
I was also there on the 3rd, 4th, and 10th.
See what I mean?
Who did you go with on the 3rd?
That was Trooper DeChico, Michael Proctor, and I conducting the first excavation.
And about what time was that?
It was during the morning hours. I think earlier I said it was somewhere between 8:30, 9:30. I could have been half an hour later. I'm not exactly positive on the exact time we began the excavation.
And the other 2 searches were the next day, February 4th, and then February 10th.
The next time I was at Fairview Road and involved in a collection of evidence was on the 4th, when Canton PD documented the one piece and I collected, and then the 10th.
Okay. Once you know how his brain works, you know how to ask the questions, and you can decipher the answers a little bit better. And it's not just because he's evading.
Was anything recovered on February, let's take them in order, on February 3rd?
Yes, Mr. O'Keefe's hat, straw, I believe red and clear plastic taillight pieces. There was those are the items that were recovered amongst.
That's on the 3rd. Okay, what about the 4th?
The 4th was the red taillight piece that we displayed, I believe, that Canton PD notified me of when I was already en route there.
When you say Canton PD, who was it that notified you, if you remember?
There was, at the scene, there was Chief Berkowitz, a couple of detectives.
Sergeant Lank, does that sound right?
I do not know. I can't say yes or no. I don't recall specifically. It was raining hard, so I grabbed the item and left.
Okay. Did you write a report? I'm gonna combine these into all 3 dates together. Did you write any report? Actually, I won't do that. Let me ask him individually. Did you write any report about your search on the 3rd?
Somebody authored a report. I'm not sure.
I'm asking about you.
I can't. There's over 100 reports. I'd have to take a look which report documents my activity that day.
Do you remember, as you sit here, authoring a report about your conduct or your activity on February 4th, the next day?
I don't have a memory of it, no.
Do you have a memory of authoring a report yourself about your conduct on February 10th, or your activity on February 10th?
I don't have a memory of it. It could have happened. I just don't have a memory.
The reality, Sergeant, is that no report was written about any of these searches until November 4th, 2023. Correct?
That could be possible, yes.
So literally the documentation of these 3 searches about which you've testified today, the documentation did not exist until, what is that math, 17, 18 months later?
That is not true. Each bag that the evidence went into was documented, the time, location, who recovered it, where it was recovered, and brief description of the items that were recovered from the scene.
And by the way, we're going to get to that in a second, the evidence bags. A report is designed to memorialize exactly what happens, when it happens, why it happened, who was there, what time it happened, things of that nature, correct?
That is one of the purposes, or some of the purposes behind the report, absolutely, yes.
And the report in this case that documented these 3 searches involving you, Trooper Proctor, I think Trooper DeChico, even Canton PD officers, there was no memorialization in a report until nearly 18 months later. Is that right?
It's possible, yeah. We write reports at different times. Yeah.
I want to ask you about this February 4th visit to the crime scene. You indicated that sometime in the morning, 8:45, 9 a.m., something like that, you responded?
On the 4th, sir?
On the 4th.
I was driving to work, so I would have to say 8:45 or so. Yeah, I mean, I don't have the exact timestamp, but if you know, if you have something to refresh my memory, I could tell you if that's accurate.
I'm not going to hold you to the exact time. It was in the morning on the 4th.
It was. All right.
Did you know Chief of Police Ken Berkowitz before you responded on the 4th to 34 Fairview?
Yes, I knew who he was. I had met him previously, and he was present on the 29th when the vehicle was delivered to the Sallyport.
He was actually in the Sallyport, at least at some time, when the vehicle was delivered, correct?
He was there at some point. I had a conversation with him.
Okay. Tall guy, short guy?
Chief Berkowitz was a shorter guy.
Okay. Do you know who Brian Higgins is?
I do.
What's your relationship with Brian Higgins? Or what was it? I should be more pointed to this, Sergeant. What was your relationship back in 2022, January of 2022?
Brian Higgins was a federal agent, and I crossed paths with him on a couple of investigations, strictly professional relationship, a federal agent and a state trooper.
So not a personal relationship, more of a professional relationship.
Correct.
Did you know him to have a personal relationship with Chief Berkowitz?
I did not know.
Didn't Brian Higgins actually tell you and Michael Proctor in an interview that he had a personal relationship with Chief Berkowitz? He called him one of his better friends.
Sustained.
Sure. During the course of your investigation, did you learn, although you may not have personal knowledge of it, did you learn that Brian Higgins and Chief Berkowitz had some sort of a personal relationship?
If you show me a report stating that, I would like to take a look. If it's written in a report authored by me or that I approved, I will take it for to be fact.
As you sit here now, you don't have a memory of that conversation with Brian Higgins?
Do I have a memory of having a conversation with him
No,
and him sharing that information with me?
That's it.
I don't have a memory of him sharing that information, but if you have a report that was authored by me or Michael Proctor or any trooper in our office that says that, I will take it as gospel and testify to it.
Okay. Well, I don't want to take up the time to look for it. We'll put our hands on that. But in the meantime, let me ask you a few other questions. You were contacted and told to respond to 34 Fairview because Chief Berkowitz had been driving by and saw something while he was driving by, correct?
On which day, sir?
February 4th.
I'm sorry.
February 4th.
Yes, he indicated that he was driving by and saw a piece of potential evidence.
And he was driving by in a car at speed, correct?
I would take that to be factual. I mean, if he's
Okay.
driving by, I would take it to be in a car
And
at speed.
did you question
hasn't
Chief
heard that.
Berkowitz about, by the way, about how old was Chief Berkowitz when you met him out at 34 Fairview in 2022?
How old?
How old? Estimate. Was he in his 50s, 60s, 70s?
I have no idea how old Chief Berkowitz was.
I forgot I took myself off.
He indicated to you that he was driving by and saw a small piece of red taillight from his car. Is that right?
Objection. Sustained.
He indicated to you that he was driving by and saw a red something from his car, correct?
Objection. Sustained.
Did you question Chief Berkowitz after you learned this information about him driving by? Did you question Chief Berkowitz about how he could possibly see a piece of red plastic from his car?
No.
Did you question Chief Berkowitz about why he was driving by 34 Fairview in the first place?
No.
Did you question Chief Berkowitz about the fact that his department had been conflicted from the case, at least in part, because of a, as you put it, a perceived or possible perception of a conflict of interest?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that question, please?
Did you question Chief Berkowitz about whether or not he was aware that there was a conflict of interest between Canton PD and this investigation?
No, I didn't question. No.
Did you think that was important at the time to talk to him about that conflict of interest?
No.
Because just days earlier, the Canton Police Department had in fact recused himself from interviews because of a potential conflict of interest, right?
To prevent any perceived conflict of interest, they recused themselves from being involved in interviews.
But
I wasn't pairing up with Chief Berkowitz to interview the taillight piece. I mean, I don't.
no, I didn't figure that you were going to interview the taillight piece. We all get the comment. I'm trying to get to a point. 3 or 4 days after, 5 days after, 6 days after, Canton PD recuses itself from these parts of the investigation because of a perceived conflict of interest. The brother of the homeowner being a detective, the chief of that department drives by in a car and supposedly sees a piece of plastic. Right?
Question.
I'm sorry?
I object.
Sustained.
Was your understanding, at least at the time, that the whole purpose of the recusal was so there would not be a perception of a conflict of interest? To avoid that?
I didn't give it much thought of the understanding why there was a recusal. I was told that they're not going to conduct interviews with us, and me being on the mission of conducting this investigation, assisting with this investigation, collecting evidence, I just knew that I needed more manpower. And the Canton police, being, having recused themselves, weren't going to be available to provide that manpower to conduct interviews.
And yet it was the chief of that very department that was standing out in front of 34 Fairview when you pulled up that morning.
With his detectives, they were at the location. They weren't standing outside. They were in their vehicles because it was raining really heavily.
Well,
Can we end at this? It's,
we can, Your Honor.
All right.
Sure.
all right, so Sergeant, we'll be bringing you back tomorrow.
Thank you, Aaron.
Folks, that's it for today. Those same cautions, please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about the case, please disregard it, let us know. Be very careful with your social media use. Anything said.
All rise for the court, please. Here's close your notebook, follow me.
Can I see counsel about scheduling, please?
Close your notebooks and follow me. We're going to keep this going a little bit because when I was watching this on another channel earlier, it ended abruptly and it never came back to them. And it looks like it never comes back. Could be wrong. I've been wrong before. My camera's going all over the place. I'm going to, oh. Gotta make it official. So I would like to know nope. Because Judge Canoni just left. So that's it. All right. We'll save some energy by stopping that. Oh, hey, that's that. So tomorrow, the battle of the wits between Alan Jackson and Yuri will continue. Some of the answers that he was asked to give, I understand, weren't really sidestepping. It was, I could see how his mind was processing the questions, and he was giving honest answers to the way he thought. You know, I can't call it that because that's not what we call it. So I'm not going to call it that because it has a connotation that's not what we do. On the other hand, he was sidestepping in other areas. So, you know, it is what it is. So we'll leave that here for now. I have okay. I will add, not that. I will add in the box below I wonder, I used to be able to do this an easier way. Oh. Let me try this. No. Entire screen. No, that makes you go nuts. I've tried that before, and it does make you go nuts. Okay, how do I get out of here? I get rid of that. Anyway, I was going to do the fancy way where I could just go down the row of tabs, but well, let's try this. Share screen. Because it used to be all right. I will share with you. Did it come up yet? Nope. Yep, there it is. I will share with you Emily D. Baker, her coverage. She's one of the channels that I follow. I will share with you well, I'm not going to be able to go down all of them. Emily D. Baker, attorney Melanie Little. Aussie Insider has a lot of real cute, interesting, informative snippets that she shares. Microdots has a lot of interesting perspectives. And BN Trouble 31 has done, let's go there. Let's go there. Stop screen. Share screen. Because I mentioned it. Here we go. Video. More altered video. And he shows.
I'm not sure. I wonder whichever.
Where'd it go?
Look at the water spots.
Oh, well, there's that too.
It's right there. And there is none in the taillight. This is for the people that keep saying they don't use salt in Canton. That is a snowplow in the right corner.
Where you left it the night before? Those early morning hours when you drove to Mr. O'Keefe's house?
Yes.
I want to show it's been marked.
To the whole world. And it has been re-altered again. It is much darker now.
So he goes over some of this stuff that I mentioned. So it's interesting. The truth is, the Lexus never hit John O'Keefe. Here's the proof. Here's more altered video. See the prominent? And if you watch closely, you can see these dots moving to blur it out and make it look like it's worse than what it is. So I'm tired. So I will add links in the box below to all these things, along with how you can contribute to Karen Reed's Defense Fund. And I hope it's useful if somebody, finds it useful. So I will sign off for now so I can get everything processed and ready to go. And we'll see how well I am tomorrow and how much of the thing that I'm able to follow. So until we next time get together, please take care and God bless.